So I recorded 35 minutes of a video and I did not record my audio. While as much as I love the sound of my own voice, I'm not recording this for me. I'm recording this for other people. And damn it, that was really a big waste of time. It's okay. It's okay. For those of you who don't know who I am, and if you're watching this video, you probably do. My name is Jimmy Lemke. I was a freshman in 2005-06. I became the sports editor of the UWM Post when we had 12 to 15,000 actual newspapers in circulation on the east side. I was the editor there until 2010 when I left, when I graduated, and then since then I had done Panther U until the spring of 2016 when nothing of any note happened. And the past 7 years, I would say I've been mostly just a fan of the program. But I'm slowly making my way towards a comeback. Maybe you go to PantherU.net over the summer and you see that something's coming back in some way. I'll be coming back with the maturity of somebody in their mid 30s who knows not to take anything too a lot healthier mentally as a fan this time around. So hopefully, Panther, you will be in a lot better shape. But the reason that I'm making this video is because this morning the athletic department posted a video on their Twitter and on their website where Scott Warris hosted and Coach Lundy was on, and they made the announcement that next Thursday's Horizon League tournament quarterfinal game that the Panthers are hosting will not be hosted at Panther Arena downtown. It will instead be hosted at the Klachi Center, where we were on Thursday night, and where the student section, despite being smaller than it had been for most of the last month or month and change previously, was able to come in and basically make it so Fort Wayne could not hear themselves think. And I believe, and I'm not the only one, that the noise in the Klachi Center was a big reason that we made we won that game, because it was show that this team, like most college basketball teams, plays better with a strong home atmosphere. And as nice as it was, a lot of people reacted to this morning's video with a lot of negativity. If you look at the tweet, the responses are almost all negative. If you go on the message board, uwmfreak.com, there's a plug. I bought that URL to forward to the message board that has existed long before I got here. It's 20 years old. It's a great historical record of the history of our program from the fans' perspective. I think that it's maybe one of the most important pieces of Milwaukee athletics lore, and I think that you should all check it out if you haven't been on there. You should be on uwmfreak.com. So the reason that I'm making this video is because I need to bring my perspective to it. Twitter is a nice place. The Freak website's a nice place, but for me, frankly, talking into a camera or talking to people is a lot better. Better way for me to get across my points. So I wanted to do that for you guys so that you would do it. So you can get my ideas. The more people like and subscribe to these videos, the more I'm going to do it, by the way. So make sure you do that and share these videos out loud so Panther YouTube starts being a thing. I'm going to tell two stories. I told two stories in a video, but I didn't have a microphone on, so my stupid ass didn't has to record it again. A story of the arena and the story of the Klachi Center. When I was a freshman in 2005-06, I was writing games for men's basketball at the arena. by the late season, we had finished the press conferences, and then the I was kind of just hanging out talking to people afterwards in the arena while arena operations were kind of shutting everything down. And I noticed a kid at a game. He was playing for Youngstown State. Now, Milwaukee had just waxed them. We were the best team in the league. They were the worst team in the league. It was 05, 06. You know, they put it this way: we were 42 in the RPI, and we beat them by a score I believe it was 98-50. I think we beat them by 40, and then we woke up the next day 72 in the RPI. That's how bad Youngstown State was. And so we're sitting there. So I'm sitting there talking to some people, and I noticed this kid at Youngstown. He's got a digital camera because this is before smartphones existed, and he's taking pictures of the arena all over the place. And I decided I got to talk to this guy. So I go over, and we're roughly the same age, and I'm like, so you kind of get the history of the building. He's like, oh yeah, this is Kareem's house. And I knew it to be true, but it wasn't until then when I really realized how much that this building can mean to people who have no connection to the city of Milwaukee, have no connection to the university. They come in, they know that building. For him, it wasn't a chance to play at the best program in the conference at the time. It wasn't a chance for him to, maybe come in and pull an upset on the team that had just gone to the Sweet 16. For him, the pull was he was going to play on the court. I mean, he had just played on the court that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson had won an NBA championship in. The court that Kareem won 3 MVPs on. The court that Marquette built its 77 national title team on. The court that Milwaukee built our golden era on was that court. It had a pull. After that season, the cupboard was laid bare. The Bo Ryan and Bruce Pearl recruited strength of that golden era had all graduated, and there was a bare cupboard, and it took time to get back there. They were 9-22, 9 to 14 to 17 to 20 wins, and it was in 2009-10 when we finally had a 20-win season. They did not win a conference title. They did not. Butler swept the league in the conference tournament semifinals at Butler at Henkel Fieldhouse. Ricky Franklin missed a 3 that would have tied it with a minute and a half left, and we had all the momentum. And then Butler just made their free throws for the rest of the game. They showed why they were such a world beater of a program. They closed it out against us, ended up winning by 9. They ended up dusting Wright State by 24, and then a few short weeks later, Gordon Hayward clanked a shot off the rim that almost beat Duke in the national title game. At the Colts Stadium downtown Indianapolis. It was Lucas Oil Field. It was a big moment for us because that was our arch rival, and over those years, when Brad Stevens was the coach at Butler, and even before him, they were great. But when Brad Stevens was the coach, no coach beat Brad's Butler team more than Rob Jeter, and so we really felt like we were kind of like their arch rival. And the fans responded to us being strong, because I think a lot of people noticed that we kept it close a couple times with them that season. We won 20 games. We were setting ourselves up to grow as a program and be better in 2010-11, and we were. The team won 20 games again. They won the Horizon League championship. They hosted, and unfortunately, Brad Stevens is a great basketball coach, and I don't think that's a knock on Jeter, but they were they beautifully shut down Anthony Hill in front of, what was it, 10,437 fans at the arena, and we ended up losing that game. And it kind of is what it is. That year in 2010-11, we averaged 4,154 fans. The That was slightly increased by having a home game against Marquette that had over 7,000 fans. That if you take out the Marquette game and have like our normal schedule, we had some. I think we averaged on like 3,800 fans, 3,850 or something like that. The point is that we averaged over 4,000 fans in the game that year, and we were downtown, and it was exciting. The basketball was winning, if not super exciting basketball, and people were there for it. Um, the following year in 2011-12, another 20-win season. They averaged the same amount of fans. In 2010-11 and 2011-12, they averaged 4,154 fans. In that second year, that was buoyed a little bit more by a home game against Wisconsin, where we had 10,143 people. So Wisconsin fans can mock the Marquette fans because they had 3,000 more fans when Marquette was across the street. And they could look at so it buoyed it. I think we average, if you take the Wisconsin game out, we averaged something like 3,600 fans. After the team cratered in 06-07 with a 9-22 year, the wins built, but so did the attendance. We went down to right around 2,000. It went a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And the building of the attendance was there. And then Andy Geiger came in to be the interim athletic director in spring of 2012. And he partially was there to cut some costs. And he made a couple remarks that were really counter each other. One thing he said is he thought we belonged in the Atlantic 10, which I personally believe we do. And there'll be another video where I get into the conferences and everything. But then he also said that we were a bleacher school. And that really pissed off a lot of fans for the Panthers. Because when they made the move in the early 2000s from the Kalachi Center that had been the home for most of the 90s and 80s, and then moved downtown, and then Bruce Pearl convinced the university to move downtown in, I believe it was 2003, and permanently starting in 03-04. It was because we wanted he thought the program could grow into it, that we could grow in and average 8,000 plus fans a game at the arena. And I don't think Bruce Pearl was wrong. And his, Bruce Pearl's optimism was something that fueled a lot for basketball fans at this school, and his constant positivity was, that still exists when things are going the right way for fans here. He's the ghost of Bruce Pearl is not far from the program. It still sits there, and in one of the ways, it's this unceasing optimism that Milwaukee is a university that has just not grown into its final form. And I tend to agree with that. We have 200,000 plus living alumni, which dwarfs a lot of schools that are high major schools. We have over 100,000 in Southeast Wisconsin. I think something like 70 plus thousand in the Milwaukee County and Milwaukee area alone. So clearly we have the people. The reason that we don't fill the arena has partially been because it's a process. It takes time. Rob Jeter was building his program and it took time. And then the move to the Kalachi Center was a huge gut punch to the program. They made the announcement, and then they took the summer to update it and put a new coat of paint and some new signage. Put that video board, or I can't remember if the video board came later. The video boards came later or not. Um, but largely, the Kalachi Center as it stands today is what they saw, what they had in 2012, August of 2012, when Brian Morgan, the ticket manager who's now at Marquette, went to, brought everybody to the Kalachi Center. Everybody who's a season ticket holder, pick out your seat. And I use that as an opportunity not to just go pick out my seat, but also to go and get a peek at what people were saying, because the message board was really the only place where there were a ton of Panther fans. Twitter was not super wild yet, besides the students. And I wanted to see what the older fans were thinking. I was a very young alumni at the time. And so I sat on the top row. Sorry, I mean, both there were many. I sat on the top row of the Kalachi Center, up on the camera side in the bleachers, and I watched. I looked down and I watched. They had the new fold out seats, the new actual seats with the arms and numbered and everything, because there used to be bleachers on that side too. And BMO brought people in, and then BMO was verbally abused by probably half of the people that came into the room. It was demoralizing to say the least. He was, it was by appointment, so he was only with like one group at a time, like maybe like two or three fans. Anybody who had tickets together, they came in together and they got to pick their seats, and he was treated pretty rudely by a lot of people. But I don't think it wasn't because of him. It was because of the move. I don't think it's because of being on campus as opposed to downtown specifically. I think that there are benefits to being downtown. It's more accessible to people on the south side, the west side, Waukesha. It's more accessible to, even, if you're coming from the freeway from the north, getting off at Capitol Drive or Locust and driving all the way to campus is not basically the same amount of time as it is to zoom further down to downtown and then park by the arena. It lacks amenities, whatever, it lacks amenities. The sports bar for the program, you could say maybe the guest house in the Union basement, but that's not going to be open, and that's a long walk. And maybe it's Harry's, but then you're getting people getting in their car, and a lot of people are just going to drive home after games. But really, the problem is that it's not fit for our program anymore. I realize that the attendance is low, but anybody in the athletic department, if it's Coach Lundy and his staff or whoever, what you have to know is that the 2012-13 season, the move destroyed our program in several ways. First off, like I said, it pissed off a lot of fans. We lost a lot of people. We went from 4,200 fans the previous 2 years each. We went down to, I think they averaged like 2,820, or no, they averaged like 2,000 in 2012-13, because it was the Kalachi Center. And then when we moved back downtown, there was a lack of trust from a lot of people towards the athletic department. Plus, they were coming off in that 8-24 season. The players themselves were demoralized by having to play in that building. The best recruit that the program got in the 20 from the moment Andy Geiger announced to the moment that they started telling recruits that we were coming back downtown, because we were getting a new athletic director and Amanda was going to make that move, or whoever it would be would make that move. From that moment to the other moment, when the Kalachi Center was our home, the best recruit we got was Cody Wickman. He was the best commitment. That's no knock on Cody. Cody is a great program guy. He's a great person. He's in my book one of the all time 20-25 Panther greats. Maybe not totally on skill, but he's also one of the 5 to 10 best shooters we've ever had, and I'm very happy to have him around as one of the 10 best shooters and everything. But it's the level of recruit he was not We went from Kalen Williams, Ryan Allen, Tony Meyer, like these guys who were stars of championship teams, and it was immediate. Jordan Aaron had committed before the announcement to move to the Kalachi Center, and we are incredibly lucky that he stuck it out because he and a lot of the other guys on the team at the time were really worried that that wasn't that they were going to be there permanently. And thankfully, the university privately was telling the coaching staff, okay, we see the error, the moving back downtown is probably a good idea. So they started telling recruits, and that was one of the first commitment we got after that was Matt Tybee. So clearly, the Kalachi Center was a massive hit to recruiting because you went from the house that Kareem built to the Kalachi Center. And I get that it was loud on Thursday. And I hope that everybody comes out Thursday night to make it loud again for the quarterfinals. But people also need to understand what the Kalachi Center is, what it was built for, and what it is moving forward as a program, as our home. It wasn't built as an intercollegiate athletics building. It was built in the early 70s, named the Kalachi Center a few years later, as an intramural sports facility. It was basically built as a YMCA for the student body on campus. The basketball team in the 70s was playing majority of its home games at the arena downtown. They were playing there downtown. And then you had a changing of the guard and administration. The Bob Gottlieb, Doug Gottlieb's dad was our coach in the late 70s, and he had a recruiting scandal, and they used that as an excuse to drop out of the NCAA entirely and screwed our momentum for probably the first time, really, as a program. And it really, and we had been in the Kalachi Center mostly since the great Antrim years, or the great times under Antrim when they were like beating Wisconsin and stuff. The big games were at the arena. I worked at the Volkswagen dealership for Pat Easterlin, who started and was one of the best 2 or 3 shooters the school's ever had. And in 92, 93, they played in front of 8,000 fans against Green Bay at the arena. And he was like, that was the best game that I remember from being a Panther. It wasn't the Wisconsin game. Because also Wisconsin there weren't Wisconsin that the people of today know them as. Because even Dick Bennett didn't come in and take him to the Final Four yet. It was 8 years until that point. So, but we were at the Kalachi Center, and then Bruce Pearl went and said, we gotta be at the arena full time. Like that's got to be our home. And they were growing into it. In 0203, they averaged 4,266 fans. And they averaged 4324 when they permanently made the arena home. 0405, they averaged 5,066. And then after the Sweet 16 and 0506, they averaged 5,305 fans. It's about growth. We have so many living alumni that I think people don't realize that our ticket to being a big time national program, as hard as that trek would be for us, it is entirely in owning our own people. If we were to own our own alumni, if we owned them, that would be that. We would have everything we need right there. 11,000 seats at the arena would not be too big for us. It feels like it's too big for us now because we're putting 2,000, 2,500 fans in an 11,000 seat gym. But at the same time, it's not because we're growing into it. Coach Lundy and most of his staff are new. Some of the guys have been here for a few years under Baldwin. But the entire time under Baldwin, we were not a good team. The entire team, and the entire time under Lundy, we've been a good team, but nobody's buying season tickets based on knowing that Coach Lundy had a good program. For God's sakes, we were picked ninth in the conference. Fans in Milwaukee are going to look at that and think, oh, this is not a good team, and they're not going to buy season tickets. You think that for next season, when our marketing material has all these Markeith Browning and Ahmad Rand Sports Center top 10 dunks, and they're selling tickets for a 20-win team that finished at worst fourth place, and cross our fingers, go IUPUI, maybe win a title tonight. Like, it's a huge difference in the program. I don't think people really get it that we will, moving to the Klachi Center, we will fit our space. And we may sell more tickets in the Klachi Center, but you're still only averaging what it can hold, which is like 2,200, 2,500 people. If you instead, if we're downtown full time next year, we will have already outgrown the Klachi Center. And I think it's important enough that I think tonight, after the Cleveland State game, Coach Lundy needs to get on the microphone and say, thank you all for coming out and have been being such great fans this season. We need absolutely everybody to be buying tickets to fill the Klachi Center to the brim for next Thursday in the conference tournament. We're hosting a game. We need everybody to be here. And oh, by the way, we will see you back here downtown at the arena next fall. That should happen. He is great on the microphone in a way that, Rob Jeter was a really cool guy, and he was great face to face, one on one. But he was not he was not the talk to a crowd guy that Lundy is, and he's not, and definitely not on the Pearl level. He is more like Bo. He's very kind of low key, really like affable, a nice person in person, and it was Lundy is more like Pearl. Lundy will get on a table, get on make sure it's sturdy enough so the coach doesn't fall and break his ankle or something. But we need to take advantage of what makes him special for us, which is he is a great salesman for the program in a way that we haven't had since Bruce Pearl. And if you make that move to the Klachi Center on a permanent basis, as it currently sits, you are killing the program. You're killing the momentum that he has built this year. I recognize the idea of having students on top of the other team, but we can do that without moving downtown. When I ran the student section, we were the same. Our front corner was the same distance to the opposing bench as we were for, as the students and I, because I've been helping them out, that we were at the end of the game Thursday night for Fort Wayne. We were on top of them. I mean, go on my Twitter and you can see just what Fort Wayne did when they had to take that timeout. They literally moved their huddle out to the middle of the floor because they couldn't hear themselves talk. That's what a great home game atmosphere is. And yes, I hope that we have that home game atmosphere, but I'm also going to tell you that if we move back to the Klachi Center, an intramural facility built in the 70s, you are just asking for the momentum to be destroyed. There is one way you can make that move. And I'm going to explain it right now. I've been around Milwaukee for 17, 18 years. I've been a fairly prominent fan if not the biggest fan as a, in terms of, my commitment to the program. I believe that is and will always be Michael Pohl. I'm physically the biggest fan that we've got. Not a lot of 6'7" guys, getting in the, towards the weight that I'm at, like 250, right? I will say that in my time, a lot of us who have been around got to see how the other programs were able to grow. Valpo and UIC leaving the conference was really about the Missouri Valley wanted Valpo as strength as a program, and they wanted UIC because they wanted to have a stronger hold on the Chicago recruiting market. Butler got out because Butler went to two Final Fours and went to the A10 and later and right after the Big East because of the potential they had in Hinkle Fieldhouse being the biggest and best program in Indianapolis for college basketball. But we all got to see Loyola. Loyola was a program that was in the Pearl years, it was one of the better programs. In 05, 06, in Jeter's first year, we had them in the semifinals, beat the crap out of them, and then toasted Butler in the title game. But then they had this slide. Despite having great players like Andy Polka and later Ben Averkamp, J.R. Blunt, who's, these Milwaukee and Wisconsin guys went down to Loyola and made things, were playing great basketball. The team itself had a lot of problems. Jim Whitesell wasn't doing great, and then he was replaced later by Porter Moser. And everybody thinks, okay, Porter Moser came in and turned things around, but that really only tells a small part of the story for Loyola basketball. And to really understand what Loyola basketball was in the Horizon League and what it became to get out and get up to the Final Four, to the MVC and now the Atlantic 10, what people need to understand what Loyola was. Loyola won a national title in 1963. They're the only school in Illinois that's won a national title. The Illini, obviously Northwestern, UIC, Illinois State, Southern Illinois. Nobody's won a national title. Not Bradley. Nobody. Nobody's won a national title except for Loyola Chicago. They won in 1963. They were they won it with a majority starting lineup of black players, and the alumni who were students in that era stuck around. A lot of them stayed, and they aged as time went on. They had a nice run with Frederick Hughes in the mid 80s. I believe they went to the Sweet 16 in 86, I want to say, as a member of the Midwestern Collegiate Conference, now the Horizon League. And then they just had this kind of slow descent into middling basketball. And towards the end of the 2000s, they were pretty weak. They had built the Gentile Center. It's named for Joe Gentile. He was a car dealer in the Chicago area. He put up the money to build the Gentile Center. The Gentile Center was a glorified high school gym. It sat 5,000 on the nose because it was bleachers. You had tall bleachers on each sideline with a little bit of a concourse as like a walkway up to the up, and then you had two totally movable bleachers that aren't even as permanent as like the end zone bleachers that the Klachi has right now. Like I'm talking like metal, like the high school bleachers on each end zone. In fact, most of the time they didn't even do the one on the north baseline. They only did the south baseline. And it sat 5,000 seats. They were all bleachers. You had concession stands that were uh, high school concession stand, and I shouldn't have said stands plural because there was one, and you were buying hot dogs and nachos with a cheese cup, like you were at a high school basketball game. It just happened to be Division 1 basketball. You could see why the slide happened. And right around 2010, a little before that, really, Loyola's aging alumni who had all been students in the 60s, and these are people who were born in the, during World War II, they're aging. And a lot of them, some of them were very successful business people in Chicago, a lot of money. They were able to put together what they wanted, which was they wanted Loyola to return to national prominence before they were gone. So they put together a big pile of money and they went to the university. The university was obviously involved in this from the get go, but they went and they gutted the Gentile Center. They took the Gentile Center and in one off season, totally gutted it. Gutted it, built it into a total seating bowl. The concourse was filled with they built an actual concourse with actual concession stands. There were actual seats that were comfortable seats for most of the seating bowl. They had in the seating bowl, the roof, the floor to roof was a lot shorter. So when you packed what had been a 5,000 seat gym dropped down to around 4,000 seats. In fact, I should have probably looked this up before I did it. So okay, so they have now technically increased it to 4,963 seats. Most of the time for basketball, it is 4,486 seats. So they actually reduced the amount of seats for the arena, but it became it became very much it was a total change. Um, it was in the 2011 off season, basically. They built that Norville Center, which was kind of like the Kalachi Pavilion or most of like the Crest Center at Green Bay. They built that next to the Gentile Center, and then they did the whole Gentile Arena upgrade right out, like in the summer of 2011. And almost all of it was done by that fall. And I can't tell you how amazing it was to walk in there and be like, oh. And we were all floored when we went in there for the first time. I remember Sister Jean saying, "Jimmy, you like it?" It was amazing, Also, that amazing that a 90-plus-year-old nun remembers all of us. She remembered all our names. I can't believe the steel trap on that woman. But it was just it was incredible how much of it was incredible how much the Gentile Center totally changed. And going back to what I said, that's the only way a move on campus is going to work. It's the only way. In a perfect world, you'd want that. But the Gentile Arena has a number of things, when it came to the center, now it's the arena. Whatever the Joe had from when it was a high school gym to what it has now, it is the Joe has benefits that the Kalachi Center has. Say we do a Joe Gentile Arena level renovation. Say we drop the floor in the Kalachi Arena. We drop the floor, so we have to redo the student locker rooms and all those extra little rooms elsewhere. And say we gotta move, like we have to move the locker rooms. That's most of it. You gotta move all the storage somewhere else. You can grow the footprint. You can tear down the Norris Health Center and just expand that way to take a lot of that extra stuff up. But with that, you can gut that. And in fact, when George Kuntz, and I should talk about the arena thing, when we did that, they had a renderings for a 6,000 seat expandable to 8,000 seat arena done um, when George Kuntz was athletic director. And even if you do that, the Gentile Center, the Joe still has benefits that this doesn't have. First and foremost, the arena for the Gentile Center has the you have the L train of Chicago drops off on Sheridan a short walk. So if you're going to a game at the Joe and you live north or you live downtown Chicago, because what you also have to know is that like the way Loyola Chicago is positioned is very much positioned the same way Milwaukee and UWM are. Is that UWM is on the east side, close to the lake, north of downtown by quite a bit, and that's exactly what Loyola is. Loyola is right just about on the lake. It's still technically the city, but it's the north end of the city. Over to the to the lake. But they have the L train that drops off right next to it, and just as importantly, they have amenities around the arena that the Gentile Arena does not have to doesn't have to do. There was always the sports bar that was Hamilton's for a long time, and I believe they call it this 63 something. Um, it's called something. The Bar 63 Chicago. It used to be called Hamilton's. And then eventually it became a sports bar, and now I don't even think it's something else. I think they shut that place down. But that wasn't the only place. You could get a pizza. There are sports bars right by campus. There are food joints by campus, and you have the L train. So even if you can't park in the garage that's roughly the same size, actually smaller than what the Kalachi Center garage is, even if you don't have that parking, you still have, even if you don't have that parking, you still have this this atmosphere in the area around the arena that the arena itself does not have to provide to fans. And I know that the student section has to be a priority. I've always been, you guys who know me know that that's always one of my top priorities. But say hello to Nicolas Cage, by the way. But the students' segregated fees are coming either way. You have to sell tickets to people who are not there. And it would be one thing if the streetcar came up Downer and stopped by, and went up to Downer and around Edgewood and back down Maryland. It would be one thing if that were the case. But that's not the case. It would be another thing if the guest house had, was attached to the arena and it was open year round, and you had ability for people to come and be around it, and then on game days pack the place and really enjoy it. But it doesn't happen because it doesn't exist like that. We don't have that on campus. Harry's is 5 blocks away from the Kalachi Center, and we're talking about winter in Milwaukee. Most people who go to Harry's post game for the Panthers stuff at the Kalachi Center they're getting in their car and going to Harry's. They're not walking to Harry's and then walking back to their car. They're driving over to Harry's, and they don't have enough parking there anyways. And you're lacking the amenities for a lot of people who like going downtown to the arena, where all of those amenities are also taken care of by not the arena itself. You have a you have a you have the stadium, and then you have major Goolsby's across the street. You've got all your parking kitty. You got pick a parking kitty corner. You got parking on the street all around. You've got your people are parking at most 3 or 4 blocks away and walking like me and Ken Peterson and I do, or you're doing a lot of the travel to the game, and then the entertainment before and after the game is based around the building, not in the building. And you could do that, right? At the if you were to gut the Kalachi Arena and do it, you could do like a sports bar type atmosphere after the game, but you're also probably getting it limited to like an hour or 2 hours afterwards, and that's not what people want. People, if we had a game on a Saturday afternoon, and you're going out to, you got a game on a Saturday afternoon, and you're going up to the arena, or you're going up to campus, people aren't going to walk from the arena to the guest house to get a bite after the game. That is a fairly longer walk than most of like the casual fans want to do, because you're always going to have the diehards like me, and you will lose some of them by a move to the Kalachi Center, because we have a lot of diehards that stopped buying season tickets after the 2012-13 debacle. But you will lose a lot more of the casual fans, who are the ones that we need to build the program, and we stand to lose a lot of the other people by coming back downtown. Forget the Murray Hill Neighborhood Association. I hate those people's guts, because they all decided to move next to a 20,000 plus student university and are somehow shocked that it's loud. Like, give me a fucking break. But to be honest, if you want the arena, if you want campus to be where everything is, it can't just be the arena. There has to be everything around it. And I personally wouldn't even consider it until the streetcar is expanded to go to campus. Because then you have a lot of people who might live downtown, or they may want to park downtown and then come up to campus and hop on the streetcar and get there. I know that buses go near it, but not really. You have to get to the point where the streetcar goes up Downer and then come back Maryland, or more likely up Oakland and come back Maryland, or up Maryland and come back Oakland. But whatever it is, you have this, whatever the streetcar can help isn't going to be, it's not going to be enough until something like that happens, where you have not just the parking of the Kalachi Center, but also everything else. If you want to, if the, what I really would say is, if you look at that arena, how it was on Thursday, being loud but 1,800 people, and you think that's where we should be, I think that you are vastly detached from the people who are going to help build the program, the people who you need to come back, the people who you need to have things grow. Because as long as we're playing downtown permanently, the games we're already going to outgrow the Kalachi Center next year. Like, next season, the even the baseline marketing is going to do better. I will say that the university has done a piss poor job in its time of getting people out for the games and into season tickets and everything. I think they've always done a poor job. I think that athletics is limited by the money that they are allocated from the university. So there's only so much they can do. They can do the social media and stuff, but there's still money into production that they don't have enough of. And really, the arena is, even the baseline of what they have now will outgrow the Kalachi Center. If you want to argue for, if it's about the lease at the arena, there are people that you can talk to about we can we can step into a situation where the Admirals are the primary tenant, we're number two, and then we have more difficulty in scheduling, or but we can save ourselves some money. Or you can talk to donors and say, hey, look, this is important, we need to be here. But you saw today on the message board, on Twitter, on social media, and you're going to see later tonight, people don't want to be people don't want to be down there, or people don't want to be down on campus permanently. And the only way that you can make it happen in reality is if you do a massive renovation to the Kalachi Center that turns it into a real arena. And in my opinion, I don't think that that's really viable until you have strong public transit to campus from downtown, and preferably from further out, but really from downtown. And even that may not be enough. But what I do know is that the arena downtown is there. It's our home. It's been our home in our best years as a program. It has all of the amenities around us that we need. That's taking care of all these other people. We don't have to build anything. More importantly, the university doesn't have to incur the operating costs of having an arena that needs to support a program to be better. And I think that if you're looking to spend money to renovate something or make something better, I think that that money is far better put in the arena itself. I understand that the university doesn't own the arena, but part of owning our people, our alumni in the Milwaukee area and then the city overall, part of that is renovating and decorating Panther Arena to adequately celebrate the hoops history and really the history overall of that building. It was the first basketball arena in the country to be built with television cameras in mind. It hosted 3 NBA MVP awards won by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It hosted the 1970-71 NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. It hosted the 1977 national champion Marquette Warriors. It was the home of Stone Cold Steve Austin in 1996's King of the Ring. I mean, I used to be a big wrestling fan. There are some wrestling fans, but it was cool when I was an early student before we made the right move from the student section from the south end zone to the north end zone, from the south to north baseline. It was cool that our student section was basically right where Stone Cold Steve Austin stood and made his Austin 316 speech. For those who are not wrestling fans, I'm not going to go into this big long wrestling thing, but that single speech right there completely changed how that business ran. You went from the Saturday morning cartoon of I'm the American good guy and I'm the Russian bad guy, to where the good guys were being, they were shit talking people and they were kind of anti. You went into this anti-hero era where you had Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and like the best wrestlers of that generation changed how things were. Like The Rock wrestled in that arena too. Like The Rock was there. But Stone Cold, he won the King of the Ring, which was this like fake tournament that they would put on, and they do a pay-per-view in May of '96, where he wins the fake tournament. He beats Jake the Snake Roberts, who's very much of that previous generation, and he gives this speech. I invite anybody to watch the Austin 316 speech, because Vince McMahon, who wasn't really that whole like Mr. McMahon on air persona yet, where he's like the boss bad guy. He used before then he was like the color commentator for for the pay per views and TV, and you can hear in his voice you can hear the click of the wheels, the gears turning when he's realizing that when Austin hits the line, the big line in the speech, he says, "You can say your quote your Psalms, you can quote your Bible, you can quote John 3:16. Well, Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass." And in that moment, Austin had gone from being the bad guy that everybody booed. The walk from the ring to where he stood for the speech, he was booed because he's the bad guy. The bad guy won the King of the Ring. And in that moment, he said that line, and all of a sudden, the people were like, "Yeah, hell yeah!" And you could hear Vince McMahon like trying to do the like, that's so rude. But you could hear the mind clicking and understanding like, oh, we have something here, and it totally changed that business. But whatever you think about wrestling, I mean, it's obviously very lowbrow entertainment, but the whole history of that product literally changed in our building. And stuff like that is not celebrated when you walk up to the arena. You have the cool arch lights, the neon lights, which, by the way, we should change to LEDs so we can make them gold on Panther game nights and blue on Admirals game nights. But you walk up and you don't have there's nothing indicating the history. There's nothing indicating that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won 3 MVPs in this building, and ain't nobody done anything like that in any other Horizon League gym or Missouri Valley Conference gym or Atlantic 10 Conference gym. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did not play in any of those, and he's one of the best 5 or 6, 7 players of all time. He just got passed by LeBron for all-time points scored. This is one of the all-time greats, and that was his house. That was his house. And it's our house now. And if we abandon it to go back to campus, to play in a gym that was built over 50 years ago, that was built 50 years ago, and it was built not for intercollegiate athletics, we are tacitly acknowledging that we are not trying to grow as a program. And everybody's going to understand that. We have to be downtown. And if you want to move to campus, you have to be willing to do a whole hell of a lot to make it worth the move. People should come up to Panther Arena, and you know what my thoughts are on the name, and I'm not going to make the University of Milwaukee point in this video. That's another series of videos that I'll make. But people should walk up to that building, and on the corner where they have the sign that's got the video, the advertising board and the nameplate, on that corner should be a big ass statue of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem should be on that. And the Walk of Fame that's along the side should be a big deal. Why is Bruce Pearl not on that yet? Why haven't we gotten any of the Panther greats who played in that building on that Walk of Fame yet? We haven't done it, and we need to. But really, we need to kind of celebrate that space too. And we need to make it when you walk into the atrium. You walk in and it looks like a generic shithouse. It doesn't look special. It's a great building. The skeleton, even 70 years after it was built, the skeleton is still there. When it was the Milwaukee Arena and became the Mecca, then the US Cellular Arena, and now UW Milwaukee Panther Arena. The skeleton is there. We need to flesh it out with things that acknowledge and celebrate the history, especially the hoops history of that building. There's that wall in the Northwest Concourse where the admirals have like their space where they've kind of painted and they have like their history and stuff. That is cool and that should be there. But by the way, the rest of it needs it all too. And not admiral stuff. It needs to be 70s Bucks acknowledging the Marquette stuff. I understand that some Panther fans don't want to do it, and I'm not like a Marquette fan, but it's a national champion that called that home. You have to acknowledge it because you have to implant the idea that the Milwaukee Panthers are the true successors. In a way, after a fashion. Because as beautiful as the Fiserv Forum is, there are still seats in that arena that suck to watch a basketball game. And I would argue that pound for pound, just a place to watch a basketball game, whatever seat you're in, Panther Arena is a better building to watch a game. Just the watching of the game itself. The angles are perfect. The concourses are just the right size. They need to be put on. They need to be celebrated. Students need to be dropped off at that north baseline door instead of the south doors. But you need a lot of stuff about the Milwaukee Panthers basketball program all over that place. I would go so far as to put the conference championship stuff. I would put Sweet 16, everything, everywhere. I would just you have to have the fans walk in and think, holy shit, this is a big place. I can't believe this is in my town, and I've never come down here before. I gotta buy tickets again. I gotta come back again. It's more than just having fun operations like the Admirals do. It's about more than it's about more than a lot of things, but really what it is about owning our people and owning our space. And for all intents and purposes, the reason that I pushed for us to own that space over, around almost 10 years ago, to own the naming rights for that building was because I wanted the city to tacitly acknowledge, to kind of not to how do I say this, subconsciously understand that that's our house, that that's our building, even though we're not going to buy it from the Wisconsin Center District. And we're not just going to own it, or we're not going to try and get the state to transfer ownership to the university. By the way, it's kind of ridiculous that the state makes the Center District, which is owned by the government, forces the university, which is owned by the government, to spend so much on rent. Maybe the conversation should start there. I hope to see you all tonight. My wife and I are going to be leaving to go downtown pretty soon. We want to beat the crowds because Marquette is playing at 6 or 6:30 and they're playing for a championship at the Forum. They can clinch. I would very much hope that IUPUI, who starts at 6 o'clock our time, is able to pull off the upset, and then we can win, and 2 conference championships can be won downtown Milwaukee tonight on February 25th, 2023. Go Panthers. Let's come up with something better than United We Roar. Roll Milwaukee, whatever you want to do. Make sure you're there. Make sure you get everybody you can get out to the game tonight. And let's hope that we're there long